What's good, y'all? What's the numbers TV? It's your boy Paul Rowe. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and like the video if you appreciate the content that Paul Rowe What's the Numbers I provided. Today we back with a profile piece. This one is on Kafani. In this video we're going to take a look at his childhood growing up in Oakland. Then we will talk about his ability to rap and how he became one of the more well-known artists in Northern California. After that, we will discuss some of Kafani's accomplishments before breaking down the situation that will leave him paralyzed from the chest down. And lastly, we will dissect the newest situation Kafani is dealing with after being sentenced in September 2022 to 7 years in prison for his role in a loan and identity theft ring. Kafani, real name Amir Rashad, is from Oakland, California. Growing up in the Bay Area during those times will be different, as Oakland has always been a city that is rich in history, dating back to Huey Newton and the Black Panthers. Kafani graduated from high school in 1998 and became one half of the rap group Babyface Assassins. The group started building a buzz throughout Northern California as Kafani networked with Bay Area DJs and promoters. He also started to be known as the Ice King because he always wore lots of jewelry as he promoted himself at clubs, concerts, and other gatherings. We should also note that Kafani been to jail numerous times throughout his career, with the first being in 1999 when he was just 19 years old. Kafani had a good working relationship with fellow Oakland rapper Keep the Sneak, who became nationally known during the hyphy movement. The two would collaborate often and had already made a few songs that were popular locally when they struck gold with the song Fast Like a NASCAR. Once released, the song would get popular after getting played on the radio. Koch Records would get a hold of the song and sign Kafani to a 3-year, 3-album deal along with a ringtone distribution contract among other things. Furthermore, NASCAR set the stage for Kafani's solo album, Money Is My Motivation, which was released in 2007. The album was well received by critics and had a few good songs, but didn't sell as much as Kafani wanted it to. Next in 2010, Kafani would go on to do a project called Maserati Music on Thiz Entertainment, which is legendary Bay Area rapper Mac Dre's label. Following that, Kafani would do a joint venture with Big Cat Records, the same label Gucci Mane was signed to early on in his career. After moving around the South for a minute with Big Cat, Kafani would return to the Bay Area and start working closely with a singer named Raven Justice. The two would drop numerous songs together, creating a nice buzz locally for Raven. At some point, Raven started working with other local artists, one being named Filthy Rich. Now this is where things get a little tricky. When Filthy Rich, who had done music with Kafani before all this, starts to feel a way about being removed of a song he had done with Raven, allegedly by Kafani. Now Kafani would go on record later to say he wasn't the one that removed Filthy from the song, but by then the beef was on, with diss records from each other soon to follow. After Kafani and Filthy released their songs going at each other, everyone was wondering what would happen next, and in September of 2013, when Kafani went to Filthy's Seminary neighborhood to film the video to his diss record, all hell would break loose, when Kafani was shot 5 times, leaving him paralyzed from the chest down. After the shooting, it would be a long road to recovery. Kafani would do a few interviews, updating his fans on the current medical state he was in, but also letting it be known that he would keep doing music once physically able to. As far as pointing the finger at Filthy for being the reason he was shot, Kafani has never really did that. Instead, he more so thinks it was someone who seen him out there and just assumed he was dissing Filthy and took it on himself to shoot him. But on social media, the two have bumped heads numerous times in the years since the shooting. Roles reversed a bit since then, as now Filthy is the bigger artist of the two and has more clout on social media. It will mainly be just them cracking jokes on each other as the beef is kinda old these days and one-sided for the most part. Kafani would embrace his new circumstances as best he could as he pushed his hip-hop with disabilities movement with other rappers who are paralyzed in wheelchairs. He also continued to chase the bag illegally as he was arrested for fraud-related charges a few times since being shot. He actually did a jail bid in 2015 over some fraud and came home in 2018. Then, while he was still fresh home on supervised release, Kafani was locked up again in February of 2020 and charged once again with a bunch of fraud charges. In the new case, the feds would say that he was the ringleader in an identity fraud scheme that allegedly stole millions of dollars from victims all across California. Kafani would bail out on the new charges and fight his case from the outside. But rather than go to trial, Kafani would plead guilty in March of 2022 to conspiracy, aggravated identity theft, bank fraud, and wire fraud. Additionally, He admitted to violating his supervised release for an unrelated prior federal fraud conviction. And in September of the same year, Kafani was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison at 42 years of age. But yo, it's What's the Numbers TV. There's a quick profile piece on Kafani. Real name Amir Rashad. Real name, he also goes by Mark Hicks. Now, I just want to say, one thing I'm gonna give Kafani his shout out, man, respect, because he dealing with being paralyzed after living a life as a rapper all these years, or just as a person who was able to non-paralyzed for years, to now dealing with that drastic change in his life, right? And I'm sure he goes through what he goes through whenever at night or whatever he got to deal with, but for the most part, he was never sorry for himself, or pointing the finger, or blaming anybody for his situation. For the most part, he deal with it how he deal with it, and he's not really looking to push the blame somewhere else. Now, is that because some people feel like maybe he did it to himself allegedly? They feel like maybe he went there looking for a problem and got the problem, or is it because basically that he's happy to be alive? Because they say he died a few times. It was just a crazy situation. That whole situation was crazy, but he never was on no snitching, even if he did know who did it. And he linked and spoke to Filthy face to face after, which was kind of crazy, right? Because if you thought he had something to do with it, I doubt he would be there talking face to face. So so I just want to say shout out to him, because he's dealing with a lot, and he dealing with it respectfully, he doesn't look too down and out. He still continue to rap, being a father to his kids. So I just want to say shout out to him on that part. Now, he going to jail. He already went to jail, paralyzed, did a few years. So now he's about to do 7 years. That's kind of crazy, but he was chasing the bag, trying to get millions of dollars in these fraud situations. I think he'd been doing it before, and, he just probably continued on. He probably was eating through the whole pandemic and all that. But like I said, this ain't his first bid from being paralyzed. And he just did 3 years. He about to go do another 7 in the feds. Now, that's just a crazy situation, man. So I want to say shout out to him, hold your head. Now, he had a decent run in the Bay Area. He was the man. Like when him and Filthy was beefing before, he was the one more so looked at as a rapper. Filthy was looked at as maybe like a dude coming from the streets, wasn't really a rapper like that, didn't really know the flows, this, that, and the third. So everybody felt like, Kafani on the rap tip was going to run through Filthy, but he ended up, Filthy ended up in the long run prevailing, especially after Kafani almost lost his life. So now it's kind of like, Filthy's the dude on top out there, and Kafani, his views is down. He's not really got that audience like that no more. So, it's just crazy how it's like a seesaw. It's like, one day, one minute you up, the person you beefing with isn't on your level. Next minute you down, and the person you beefing with is way above your level. So it's just a crazy situation. But I just want to say, I don't want to ramble too long. I just want to say, shout out to Kafani, shout out to the whole Bay Area, Oakland, all that good stuff, the town, the city, all that. I used to be, like I said, I used to be out in the Bay Area, man. So shout out to the Bay Area, man. And I just want to say, man, continue to follow What's the Numbers TV. We're at 80,000 strong. If you got any promo, you got any business you need promoted, holla at me, What's the Numbers TV at yahoo.com. Go follow the Instagram, What's the Numbers TV. And we going to keep it pushing like that, man. What's the Numbers TV, your boy Paul Rowe. We back before you know, man. We out of here. Peace.